I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and welcome to our podcast, For the Health of It. Remember to subscribe to our podcasts, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well.
The information presented on this program is not intended to take the place of your personal physician's advice, and it is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Discuss this information with your own physician or healthcare provider to determine what is right for you.
Are you suffering needlessly? Dr. Joe can give you advice on how to naturally get well and stay well. Dr. Joe Esposito.
What we're talking about today is how damaging sugar can be to your body. Now, when you think about sugar, the first thing you think about is diabetes, right? Oh, I eat too much sugar, I get diabetes. There's so many adverse side effects to eating sugar, surprising side effects, that we're going to talk about today and why it's so important to cut it out. I'll give you options too. Because what happens with sugar is, when you eat sugar, it goes into a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. So sugar, well, not the hypothalamus, I'm sorry, the nucleus accumbens, a lot of parts of the brain. So the sugar goes into the nucleus accumbens and it releases dopamine, and dopamine gives you pleasure. So sugar is the cheapest high you can buy. It's cheap, it's legal, and people do it every single day. And when you release this dopamine from the nucleus accumbens, you get pleasure, and what do you want more of? Pleasure. We as humans seek pleasure. It's what we do. And so when pleasure is easily obtained, we want to go do it over and over again. And so that's what's happening with the sugar. And that's why it's so hard to quit. And I always say, I can't eat a cookie anymore. I can eat a box of cookies, but I can't eat a cookie. Because one cookie, or bread, whatever it was, releases the chemicals, you get stoned. You're getting high from it. I was just in a Middle Eastern grocery store today, as a matter of fact. And they have this amazing bread covered in poppy seeds. And I've had it in the past, and it's really, really, really good. But it's wheat and it's sugar. And I picked it up, and I put it in my cart, took it back out of my cart. Put it in my cart, took it back out of my cart. Then I walked out without it. So you have to process intellectually and say, okay, this is not something I should be doing. Because if I did it, I would want more. So sugar, of course, there's a bitter side to it. Now, if you eat fruit, that's different than drinking fruit juice, because fruit has a lot of phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals, and it also has fiber. So when you eat sugar, the fiber is pushing the sugar through the colon, and you're getting a slow release of sugar. Also, the fiber blocks up something called the receptor sites. That's where sugar gets absorbed. So sugar, if you drink it as just juice, you don't have the phytonutrients, you don't have the fiber, it becomes an issue. If you eat a whole piece of fruit, not a problem. Now, again, you can eat too much fruit, of course. I knew a fella, actually was one of my mentors way back, gosh, I don't know, decades ago. And he became a fruitarian. Now, this is way back before I knew everything about that I know now. He became a fruitarian. He developed blood clots in his leg. Clot broke off, went to his heart, and killed him. So he died as a raw food fruitarian from heart disease. So too much fruit can be a problem. I don't want you to live on just fruit. But a couple pieces of fruit a day, 4 or 5 pieces a day, no big deal. As long as it's organic and as long as it's the whole fruit. So the key here is the fiber. The fiber is going to be the thing that pushes it through the colon and gives you that slow release. So the big question is, how much sugar is too much? Well, the American Heart Association recommends no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar for women and 9 teaspoons of added sugar for men. The average American, how much sugar do you think they get? 22 teaspoons a day. You're supposed to have 6, you're having 22. One 12-ounce can of soda has 10 teaspoons of sugar. 10 packets of sugar in one can of soda. That's a lot of sugar. That's more than you can allow to have for a whole day. So I don't recommend you do soda. Now, if you have to do soda, the neat part is there's sodas now that are sweetened with stevia, xylitol, monk fruit. Those are better. I wouldn't say drink a whole lot of them. But Zevia is one of the brand names. I want to say Blue Mountain might be another one. And they taste fine. And in fact, this is what's going to happen. If you're a sugar junkie, a soda junkie, and you switch to these stevia sweetened sodas, after a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks, you won't be able to go back to the other soda. Because periodically, if I have a soda, maybe once a month or so, maybe further apart than that, I'll have a can of Zevia, and it tastes great. But if I even try to sip a soda, it's just like chewing on pure sugar. So you'll see a dramatic change because your brain has to reboot itself. And that's the neat part about nutrition, is as you change your diet, your brain will reboot itself and you'll have different cravings. Like I haven't had any animal products in 35 years. I certainly don't crave animal products. But the sugar is found in vegan foods. And so that's why you got to be careful with that. And the secret is this. You got to get the bad food out of the house. If you have bad food in the house, if you have alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, if you have these foods in your house, you're going to eat them. If you don't have them in your house, if you open my refrigerator, I've got carrots and I've got a container of lettuce. What else I got in there? Cherries right now, peaches. Figs are crazy. I got way too many figs. I can't pick as many figs as I have right now. I've got a huge fig tree in my house. I go out there, like, they're rotten. I'm picking them through. That one's not perfect. I'll throw this one in. I got so many figs right now. But with figs, you got to be careful because figs can certainly stimulate the digestive system, and they can go right through you. So got to be careful not eating too many figs. But right now is a perfect time of the season for fresh fruit. So stock up on the fresh fruit. Organic, of course, if you can get it. And you're okay. Don't juice the fruit, though. That's too much sugar. So one of the side effects is it can cause you to gain weight. Now, the key here is that when you start mixing the carbohydrates and the fats together, that's when you have the big weight gain. And fats are really going to be the thing. If you eat it, you wear it. So when people say to me, Dr. Joe, what can I eat as a snack? I'll say maybe a handful of nuts. And I had a patient the other day, a truck driver, and he said, took your advice, been eating nuts as a snack. Doc, I'm putting on weight like crazy. It's only been a week. I said, how many nuts you eating? He goes, well, bag a day. No. Handful a day, 2 handfuls a day. When you start eating that many nuts, there's a lot of fat in there. You're going to start putting on the pounds. So be careful with that. You can gain weight from that too. If you drink 1 can of soda a day and don't change anything else in your life, in 3 years, you'll gain 15 pounds. Now, as you know, if you're getting older, weight creeps up on you. So I've got to be careful. I notice every now and then. The weight fluctuates day to day. You can fluctuate 2-3 pounds a day in your weight. But I know as soon as I start feeling a little heavy, it's one of 2 things. One is I've got to go back to my much more raw food. And number 2, it could be that my stomach is pushed up against my diaphragm. And a lot of that weight gain that I feel is just bloating. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, these are all signs that the digestive system isn't working as well as it should. And so we may have to go in there and physically adjust or pull your stomach down away from the diaphragm, and that relaxes the entire digestive system. It certainly relaxes the stomach, and then you're able to digest your food more efficiently, you're able to absorb your nutrients more efficiently, and you're less likely to put on weight. Many times when I'm feeling fat, it's a digestive problem. It's not what I'm eating, it's that I'm not digesting it properly. And when I get my doctors to fix my gut, all of a sudden, I start to feel thin again. And we all have those days. I feel good today, I don't feel good today. That's normal. We have a fluctuation in our weight. But if you have acid reflux and heartburn, you might want to come see us because that's something that's usually pretty easy to fix. We just pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. So we're talking today about sugar, how dangerous it is, first part of the show. 1 in 10 Americans gets 1/4 or more of their daily calories from sugar. That's a lot. So 1 in 10 of you, look around. If there's 9 people in a room, 1 of you is getting 1/4 of all your calories from added sugar. Not sugar found in food, but added sugar. If you eat that much, one study found you're more than twice as likely to die from heart disease than somebody who eats half that amount of sugar. So you're increasing your risk of heart disease. Now, if you're African American, if you're over 50, I'd say 40, but I'd say 50 if you're taking care of yourself. If you have a sedate lifestyle, if you have genetic predisposition, these are all high risks for heart disease. Then you add on top of it the things that you can control, what you eat. You increase your risk of heart disease. Why would you do that? Anybody ever lose anybody a heart attack? Raise your hands. My father died of a heart attack. And I think it was he actually had maybe possibly could have had early signs of perhaps prostate cancer. So the doctors gave him a medication that was going to shut down his production of testosterone. Now, he already had a weak heart. He already had heart surgery. And the doctors, I guess, never read his chart. Because the medication that they gave him after he died, I looked it up, and it clearly says, big bold letters, do not give this to somebody who has a heart condition. Because you need testosterone to cause the heart to contract. It builds muscle, and your heart's a muscle. So my father died. He literally just fell off the couch. My mother was in the kitchen. He was in the living room, fell off the couch. My mother went in, thought he fell asleep and fell off the couch. She looked down, he was dead. I can't prove that the medication that they clearly said don't give to him, that can affect the heart, killed him. And there's no way to prove it now. Of course, it was years ago. But I suspect that's probably what happened because he was fine up till he took the medication. Like a week later, he's dead. So these are some things that happen in life. Now, if you have control of your heart, of your diet, why would you mess with that? Why would you put sugar in your diet and increase your risk of heart disease? Especially if you have heart conditions, if you have a history of it, if you're African American, if you're overweight, if you're older. So, folks, I'm begging you, please, get the sugar out of your house. And when I say sugar, that's breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, cupcakes. You got to get the sugar out of the house because once you start eating it, that pleasure center goes crazy. You go nuts with the pleasure and you can't stop. And now with listing all the things, how dangerous it is, how bad it could be. And what happens is extra sugar raises your blood pressure and releases fat into the bloodstream. And that can lead to heart attack, stroke, heart disease, things like that. So I want to talk about diabetes first, and I want to talk about high blood pressure and sugar. Because most people think about sugar and diabetes. They never think about sugar and high blood pressure. They think about salt and high blood pressure, but they don't think about sugar and high blood pressure. And in fact, sugar is just as bad, if not worse, for people with high blood pressure. I don't know of any patient, I've been in practice 37 years, I don't know any patient that's ever come in on high blood pressure and say, my doctor told me to cut out sugar. Doctors always tell them to cut out salt, but they never come to cut out sugar. So diabetes, sugary drinks boost your odds of getting type 2 diabetes. It happens because when sugar stays in your blood, your body may react by making less hormone insulin, so it tries to reduce its production of insulin. First, it boosts it up. And the way insulin works, let me explain this to you. The way insulin works is it goes to a cell and opens up the cell. It acts like a key, opens up the cell and allows the cell to take in glucose. That's the type of sugar the body uses. If you eat too much sugar, the body produces a lot of insulin. So now the insulin is going into these cells and trying to open them up to get them to take in the glucose. Well, the cells are smart. And the cells say, listen, Mr. Insulin, I can't take any more sugar. So I'm going to not let you open me up to let the sugar in. I'm going to resist you. So now the body becomes insulin resistant. And that's called type 2 diabetes. And it happens because you eat too much sugar and you produce too much insulin. So the way to reverse type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance is cut out the sugar. And then eventually the cells say, I could use some sugar right now. Hey, Mr. Insulin, I'm going to let you open me up so that I can let the sugar in. And you can reverse insulin resistance by reducing the production of insulin and making the cells want it more. It's just that simple. So cutting out the sugar, you reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. And if you go to our website, drjoe.com, we have a show that we did on diabetes. Just type in the word diabetes and you'll bring up the show. And it's a really good show. We cover about 2 hours of in-depth research on diabetes, what causes it, popular treatments that are working. And again, anything I teach you, and I've been teaching now for 40 years, it's never guaranteed it's going to work. Patients send me emails through the website, drjoe.com. They come into the offices. They stop me in the street. And I say, Dr. Joe, can you cure blank? Whatever it is. And my answer is always, no, I can't cure anything. But what I can do is help your body get well enough so that the body is able to do the healing, I hope. Never guarantee anything, never promise anything. Some people expect me to have an answer that's going to be one day and they're fixed. I'm not that good. Sorry. I'm pretty good at what I do, but I'm not that good. So many times you have to contribute a little bit to your healthcare plan. You have to do a little bit to make the body function better. And I know some people don't want to hear that, but it is what it is. So if you have a health issue, if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, car accidents, sciatica, workers' comp injuries, digestive issues, nutritional concerns, how about this? How about you make an appointment to come see us? Now, we are getting extremely busy. In fact, I've been saying for a while, about a week now, we're looking for another chiropractor to join us because we have our appointment calendars are filling up very quickly. So if you do want to make an appointment, you can go to our website, drjoe.com, and you can book an appointment right online. And we would love the opportunity to be your doctor, but you do want to do it quickly because we are booking up quickly and until we get somebody trained to my standards. That's the key. I've had doctors come and go because they just don't meet my standards. And I've had doctors' careers. They're like, I want to work for you, Dr. Joe. And I said, go out, learn this. You should have learned this in school. But learn how to be a doctor and then come back and we'll talk again. And some people, they base their career on want to work with us. And they don't meet the standards that we set. So very, very high standards on our doctors. But if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. First visit can be up to $700. We've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, your first chiropractic treatment, going over the x-rays on a follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Nutrition evaluation alone is $150. So if you want to get well, go to our website, drjoe.com, scroll down about halfway down the homepage. It says, ready to make a consultation? Click on that, book your appointment. Let's get you in there. We accept insurance, by the way, almost all insurances. And if you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged. I've never seen it not happen. So get to us as quickly as you can from a car accident because the insurance companies play games with you. Well, Joe, you didn't go to the doctor fast enough, so we're not going to pay your claim. I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't have a car because your person who you insured smacked into me. Yeah, but we're not going to pay your claim. So I have to fight those every day with the insurance companies. We usually win. In fact, I don't think we've ever not won. But just come in as soon as you can. drjoe.com. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. So high blood pressure. Now, salt usually gets the blame for high blood pressure, but research say that sugar may be more worrisome than salt. One way we believe that sugar raises blood pressure is by making your insulin levels spike too high, and that can make your blood vessels less flexible, and that can cause your kidneys to hold on to water and sodium. So there's a pathway. We call it a pathway. And there's a pathway to why sugar is doing this. So you got to cut out the salt. You got to cut out the sugar too. But the good news is this. There's about 120,000 foods, I'm guessing that number, that are good for you. And I know it's tough to give up the alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, but trust me, it'll be the best decision when it comes to your health you'll ever make because you have control over that. Now, if you have neck pain and back pain, it might be pinched nerves. You might need medical treatment. You can come see us. We're chiropractic and medical centers in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. That you need us for. But the diet, you have 100% control over. But if it's in the house, you're going to eat it. If it's gluten-free vegan cupcakes, if they're in the house, chances are you're going to eat them. So there are no healthy junk foods necessarily. And you think, well, what about cookies? What about cakes? What about vegan, gluten-free? They're still not good for you. They still usually contain a lot of sugar. Another thing that too much sugar can do is it raises your cholesterol. Sugar diets are bad for your heart, and it makes you gain weight, but it can raise your bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, and lower your good cholesterol. What it does, it hikes blood fats called triglycerides that hinder the work of the enzymes that break them down, and that becomes an issue. So what happens is this. You eat sugar. Breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, candy, soda, whatever it is. Your body takes the glucose out of that sugar and utilizes it as fuel. The other parts of the sugars, let's say fructose, like white table sugars, half fructose, half glucose. The fructose has to be converted into glucose. So in the process of converting fructose into glucose, there's a waste product produced, and it's called uric acid. And uric acid gets in your joints, and it hurts. Now, I'm board certified in chiropractic, orthopedics, pain management, nutrition, traumatic brain injury. We deal a lot with nutritional issues, and we deal a lot with pain patients. The two overlap constantly. So if somebody comes in and they're eating a lot of sugar, and sugar's converting into fructose converting into glucose, and uric acid is a waste product, uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. So as a pain management expert, I'm telling you, if you want to deal with pain, you got to cut out the fructose. Uric acid prevents the body from producing nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels. It's great for energy. It's great if you have high blood pressure. It can help lower your blood pressure. But if you don't produce nitric oxide because of the fructose creating uric acid, the blood vessels can get constricted, and that can raise the blood pressure and prevent the proper blood flow through the body, which is healing to the body. So you're thinking, well, Dr. Joe, I don't eat white table sugar. I just eat fruit juices. Well, we said at the beginning of the show, that's a lot of fructose. But then you think, but Dr. Joe, I don't use regular sweeteners. I use this wonderful sweetener that I heard was really good for you called agave nectar. Agave nectar comes from a cactus plant. Agave nectar, well, high fructose corn syrup is 55% fructose. 45% glucose. Remember, glucose okay, fructose bad, unless it's in a whole fruit. 55% fructose in high fructose corn syrup. Regular table sugar, 50% fructose. Agave nectar, 85% fructose. Way higher than high fructose corn syrup. So agave nectar, not a health food. If you have to use a sweetener, stevia, lohan, monk fruit, xylitol, what these are, when you put them in your mouth, they taste like sugar, but because the structure of the carbon molecules is they don't get absorbed into your colon and get absorbed into your body, they pass out. Now, if you eat too much of them, you can get diarrhea, so be careful with that. But if you have to sweeten something, you want to go with one of those natural sweeteners, sweetener-like products. So agave, stevia, things like, not agave, I'm sorry. Stevia, lohan, monk fruit, xylitol. These are better choices. Not good choices, better choices. So also too much sugar causes your liver to create, the fructose converts it to fat, because fructose converts into glucose. After all the cells are filled up with glucose, the glucose is then converted into glycogen. Glycogen is our backup tank. It's our storage of energy. Once the glycogen tanks are all filled up, you've reserved glycogen in your liver, your muscles, you're still eating sugar, your body says, what am I going to do with this sugar? I got to get it out of the blood. So it converts into triglycerides, where the triglycerides then get stored as fat. So the sugar converts into fat, basically. That's why too many sugars make you fat. Fructose into glucose, glucose into glycogen, glycogen into triglycerides, triglycerides stored as fat. So you got to cut those out. Now, again, if it's a whole food, it's not that big a deal. If it's a processed food, it's not, because of the fiber. It is a big deal because of the fiber. The fiber is the key ingredient here. Now, it can affect your sleep. It can mess with your blood sugar levels. If you're used to having high blood pressure and blood sugar and the body pumping out insulin, you go to bed, the body pumps out insulin, it takes the sugar out of the cells, and you crash in the middle of the night, your body wakes up. The body says, hey, Joe, I'm running out of sugar, man. You got to feed me. It's called nocturnal hypoglycemia. Nocturnal hypoglycemia is when your blood sugar drops, and if you eat something before you go to bed, it raises it back up. The answer to this in almost all cases is stop eating sugar throughout the day so you don't have such high release of insulin. I wish that doctors, and a lot of doctors listen to the show, by the way, so thank you, doctors, for listening. I wish doctors would be taught this in school so that they can teach this to their patients. I had a medical student come in the other day, and she had a polycystic ovarian syndrome. And we talked about nutrition, we talked about estrogen, we talked about pinched nerves in the low back, we talked about fat cells, and blew her mind. Never heard any of this before. So if you like what you're hearing, you can go to our website, drjoe.com. We have over about 2,000 hours of podcast audio and video. If you like podcasts and you have a podcast service, just go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it, and that'll bring you up to our podcast. In fact, this is one of the podcasts you're listening to right now. And we use that as a podcast. So you can listen there. If you have any questions, you could send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. There's a little bot that pops up. Type in your question. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Sometimes make sure you put your email address in. I'll email you the answer. And we want to be your doctors. We want to get the nervous system working. We want to get the digestive system working. We want to get your diet straightened out. We want to get you on good supplements. The minimum supplements I believe everybody should be taking is Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're two powders. They taste great. I mix them together, coconut milk, almond milk, water. Cannot imagine a day without Super Greens and Essential Source. So those are available on the website. So the website's a great source of information. And if you're ready to make the step to get well, you want to make an appointment, you can do it right online, drjoe.com. Scroll down about halfway. It says, ready for a consultation? Click on that. Book the appointment right online. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. Tell your friends about the show. Thanks for listening to For the Health of It. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well. You can also listen to and call into my radio show live Sunday evenings from 7 to 9 Eastern Time on WSBRadio.com and on the WSB Radio app.